Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Black Butler, chapter 183. When we last left our heroes, after Baldroy had killed the assassins who had come to attack Ciel, he and Sebastian kind of got stuck cleaning everything up. Baldroy offered to cook the wheat that had fallen on the ground with the blood, and Sebastian kind of got onto him for that, which led to Baldroy talking about, his time as a soldier, making him not want to waste any food, and his time as a farmer, making him want to not waste wheat, knowing all the work that goes into it, which then leads into a flashback within a flashback. As we find out a bit about Baldroy's further past, which, in retrospect, I feel like maybe should have been the part of Baldroy's past that he told Ada from the beginning, not all the Sebastian stuff. But anyway, even if it feels like Yana has at times abandoned the conceit of this flashback of Baldroy talking to Ada in the present, we learned that Baldroy had a relatively happy life. He was not exactly rich, but he had a stable living as a farmer. He married this rancher who would come by his farm, had a son, and everything changed during some attack by the natives. And I'm a little bit on edge about that, knowing how that sort of concept tends to be played in media. But let's just dive right on into Chapter 183, The Butler Annihilating. We have our picture here of Baldroy, Joanna, and Baldroy Jr., his son, cultivating their home and smiles. It also has this nice little, burn effect. It feels like a photograph that's been caught on fire, sort of thing. But we open, not really during the native attack, we open at, a church. I think, as I guess the pastor tells the congregation, several days ago, a carriage delivering produce to the next town was attacked by Indians. We thought this area was off limits as we settled here a long time ago, but I guess they had no choice. Since the railway was completed, settlers have continued to deprive the Indians of their food, though I think it was the army that overhunted the buffalo. We're unwitting victims of their actions. So we are seeing, I was kind of cautious because last chapter, Baldroy made a point of noting that, he had always been taught to be grateful to the natives. They had helped his ancestors way back when. And then putting that line with a seemingly unprovoked native attack was sort of putting me on edge. But here we instantly have this, leader figure maybe not quite justifying the natives' actions, but at least explaining it. That in some way it is the fault of the settlers. Anyway, we see a man speak out, "We're no match for them. Let's buy better guns and fortify the village." But Baldroy pushes back, hey, won't that make matters worse? If they don't have enough food, we can sell them at a cheap price. They gave us corn and beans, didn't they? So we're seeing, though, sort of the Baldroy's going way back to, the first Thanksgiving, 200 years prior to this. But it has been established that it's sort of a defining moment of his family's history and is very much characterizing his actions now. Like I've been saying, if these flashbacks weren't, so poorly placed and so slow, there's some just, naturally skilled character work going on here. But anyway, the village leader or the priest or the mayor or whatever he's supposed to be pushes back, "Baldo, things aren't that simple. Our village isn't rich." And Baldroy responds, "I know, but still." And at that point, it seems like tensions start to flare up, and argument starts to heat up. And Baldroy looks on sadly as he goes back home. I'm guessing this. My gut's telling me this is before last chapter's cliffhanger, which means I believe we're in a flashback within another flashback here. But whatever, let's just go with it. And I guess Baldroy's, told Joanna and probably more incidentally Baldroy Jr. what's happened. And Joanna notes, "Oh, so that's what happened." Baldroy responds, "We all decided to settle here, so I'd prefer we resolve this peacefully." And Joanna just sort of smiles, "Yeah." And then Baldroy Jr. sort of grins. "Even if someone scary attacks us, we'll be fine if Mommy's around." And Joanna protests, "Hey, Junior, what do you mean by that?" And Baldroy kind of giggles at her. He thinks you're a demon. But Junior just lights up, "Because Mommy's food is the best. Daddy always smiles when he eats Mommy's food, so Mommy can make anyone smile. And we see it has this sort of, rosy effects in the background, kind of establishing this as like a pristine, peaceful memory of Baldroy. And then we see Baldroy and Joanna look at each other, and Baldroy just laughs, "Yeah, you're the strongest." And then we come back to the flashback within the flashback, as the images of that past are literally burned up. It's a real neat effect we have there. As Baldroy just sort of stands there while the chaos surrounds him. And another farmer like grabs Baldroy by the shoulder. "Hey, don't just stand there. We farmers are no match for them. So run!" And Baldroy then runs as the man calls out, "Baldo!" The farmer's saying run out of here. Baldroy is going back to his family, where we will finally get that image that's been coming up all flashback. As Baldroy makes it there, he sees the house on fire. He bursts open the door, and he sees the image that this whole mini flashback has been building up towards, and even the main flashback has been building up towards. Not helped by Imgur separating these two pages, I will say that much. But of Junior and Joanna dead, and the house is on fire. Which will, of course, lead to Baldroy going to war, and so on and so forth. We also, the earlier actions sort of provided, I guess, a kind of justification for the natives' actions. They're sort of being forced here. The white folk are coming in and overhunting their food, and so they have to act somehow. But we have this bit here. We see Joanna, and her dress is very specifically like normally in the earlier flashback. Her dress covered. You got a little bit showing up there, right? But here it's draped around her shoulder like it's been forced off, like she was raped. Potentially. Again, it's left a little bit implied, but that is definitely an implication there, which is, obviously less easy to give any kind of justification for. I don't know. Anyway, Baldroy looks at the two of their corpses. And he falls to his knees. And we specifically see the bread that Junior was so convinced would bring peace. Be like my ancestors. Happy, ordinary life. And we see all these memories of his life with his wife and son just shatter. And I do love a lot of the visual effects Yana's doing here. I have my discomforts with just the general concept of this flashback that I've made perfectly clear. But Yana is, for all of her faults of the past several years, an excellent visual storyteller. And I love this page of the shattering family that, as it comes down, becomes a shattering Baldroy. That's just a good image. And Baldroy, somehow, I almost imagine he doesn't quite know how he got out. But he's outside as the house collapses on itself, as he screams through his tears, "Here in this land," and he grabs his rake or something. As he looks up at the sky, tears falling. Oh no, he was actually still inside. There's only one part of the house that fell in, I guess. He walks out, he just, blankly wanders through the town. An arrow flies at him and hits him in the back. And we see a native archer just looking at him. And Baldroy, whacks him with his rake, I guess killing him. And that's sort of Baldroy's first kill that will eventually rack up a whole hell of a lot more of. And he looks back, and he sees just the farm aflame. My fields. I can't set root here anymore. And he just wanders off to be continued. Okay. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything more to add with my negative thoughts on this chapter, which is largely just, the general, we're now 2 flashbacks in this sort of situation. And we're, I guess, closer to being out of it. Unless Baldroy decides to, I know I've said in the past, this sure seems like the end of the flashback. And I don't want to say that again, even for this mini flashback. You know, all things... Yana being Yana. I don't want to say that without being confident that I'm right. But unless this flashback is now going to go on to Baldroy's time as a soldier, which it very well could, given who is writing this story, this does seem to be the end of the mini flashback, possibly. Again, not going to get my hopes up. I've been burned too many times. But that is a positive thing. Negative is, again, we're still kind of stuck here. And if we are going to go into Baldroy's time in the wars, it's a whole other ball game. And also, again, I'm just still not completely comfortable with the even this chapter sort of attempts to downplay the evil native trope by like giving the natives reasons for their actions that are entirely set up by the white settlers. I can almost accept that if it were, because Baldroy's actions are all sort of protecting himself after, and like sort of crazed in that sort of, my family was just murdered revenge vibe. It's the implication Joanna was raped for me that sort of sets me off. All of the work that earlier page does of here's the justification for the natives' actions. Because at that point, there's no justification for that, if I'm being honest. There still is some good stuff here, even if it's only like 12 or so pages, I think. Let me do a quick little count. Not counting the cover page, there's... I think there's 15 pages, not counting the cover page, and one of them is just a 2-page spread. Where was I going with that? It's short, as all these chapters tend to be, I think was my point there, though I admittedly lost my train of thought with that line. My point is, though, that I'm still not big on how this flashback is portraying just the West and the conflict between settlers and natives in general. To be fair, it's given Baldroy's specific position, all of his actions are understandable. It's more a question of what the narrative is doing more than what Baldroy is doing, I suppose. And again, there's some really good visual touches here. I love the fire that consumes Baldroy's happy memories right before we get back to the 2-layer deep flashback. I love the shattered memories leading to a shattered Baldroy. As by the end of this little scene, he just sort of, emotionlessly wanders out of the house. There's, again, some good stuff here. There's also some stuff that I'm not really big on at all. And the last bit of I can't set root here anymore, as Baldroy realizes that, both because the crops are burned and because of everything that's happened to him while he's over the past couple hours, he can't stay here anymore, which will eventually lead to him becoming a soldier and joining up with the manor. And I really hope we don't get all of that backstory, because we don't need that backstory, but we very well might. Anyway, there's a lot to say here. It's all kind of, not the best, I'll say, but also I suppose it could have been worse in its presentation of this particular issue. I don't know. It's messy, as things sometimes are, I guess. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave this video up here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!